Baseball card prices are down, but not as much as I expected. Is now the time to buy? Market Movers has the answers. Let's data dive. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Data Dive powered by Market Movers. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot, and here today to do a little follow-up on the MLB card market. If you follow this channel, you know that I like to mix in some player deep dives, some would you rathers, some philosophical videos, and of course, some timely ones relative to the seasonality of the major sports, especially as it pertains to the cards. So today we're just gonna get right into the data. And listen, it doesn't matter if you're an investor, speculator, or a collector, this data matters because if you're looking to buy, we wanna know if that time is now. And as always, this video is brought to you by Market Movers. We're working vigorously on the brand new mobile version of the app, Market Movers X Mobile. We plan to have that ready to launch in early January. Visit marketmoversapp.com and use promo code DIVE for your first 7 days free. And when the new mobile app is ready, you'll be upgraded automatically. Now let's get into the data. All right, so December has historically been one of the best months to buy baseball cards. I was talking about that a few months ago. We've been on a few live streams recently talking about that. And while prices are down over the last 30 to 60 days, they're actually not holistically down as much as I expected. The combination of prices dropping overall, in the broader card market, plus the heat of the NFL, the NBA, and then World Cup being right now made me think that we'd see 30 to 40% drops in prices across the board on average since the start of the playoffs, and that's not entirely the case. So let's jump into Market Pulse and look at what's been actually going on. I'm looking at Market Pulse over the last 60 days. That's basically 60 days ago, roughly when the playoffs teed off. And here we've got 4 different indexes. We're always using the SCI 500 as kind of a baseline. There's a lot of different cards, a lot of variety in there. Down 9.5% over the last 60 days. And then I pulled in the baseball 2018 to 2020 index and the 2010 to 2017 index, down 13 and 17% respectively. And then if you remember, if you watched the video right when the playoffs started, I did a video on the cards, one card from each of the key players from all the teams that were heading into the playoffs to see, okay, what's gonna happen to those prices between now and the end of the playoffs and thereafter. That's the index that is down the most, down 20%. So let's scroll down and see which cards specifically in that index are down and if there's any opportunities here. And again, a lot of this is gonna have to do with who you like, who you collect, your favorite team, or just who you think might see a nice price rebound between now and the regular season next year. And starting out with Kyle Tucker, Tucker's a guy that a lot of people are really high on. People were very, very high on Tucker going into last season. In many cases, people were making an argument for him to be the #1 overall fantasy baseball pick. He's down the most, which is really interesting, in my opinion, because you have the Astros obviously, going to the World Series, winning the World Series, and Tucker's there down the most in a short period of time relative to when the playoffs started on this X Factor, down 51.2%. So let's pop that open and kind of see overall what's been happening. And this is a look at the last 365 days. You can see it's just been nothing but down for Tucker. Going back a year ago, he was at $165. I typically ignored these kind of one-off price outliers like that one at $288, but he did kind of average and normalize around the $170 to $190 mark, and then most recently selling for $79.99 on this X Factor, Pop 83. Now, you know me, when it comes to these types of players, if you're not on a huge budget, sometimes you're looking in this PSA 10 or PSA 9 category for that kind of entry-level refractor, X-Fractor type of card. This is not a bad one to look at buying if you're high on Tucker and the Astros being another really competitive team next year, which in my opinion, all signs point to them being. So Tucker, not a bad option. Next, Judge. Staying in New York, congratulations, New York fans. I'm assuming that's what many of you wanted. I think in terms of benefit to Judge's card prices, this is the best case scenario, him staying with the Yankees. The Giants, the Padres were rumored. Neither of those teams is gonna have the same clout as the Yankees. And now he's staying in the mix with his Yankees jersey, same as his rookie cards all the way going forward. So Judge is down the most of any player. I think over the last 60, 90 days, he's down the most, which in many ways makes a lot of sense because he shot up the most. We had that run where every week on the top 5 cards going up, it was Judge every week because he was tearing it up and he had that historic season, and then he wins an MVP. If you're high on Judge long term, if you think that he's going to continue this and that the Yankees will continue to be in the hunt in the AL East, again, now probably a good time. I don't know, they might come down a little bit more, but typically come January, after the holidays, is when things start to heat up again for baseball as we look forward to spring training. Moving down, Jarred Kelenic, not going to say a lot about him other than I'm not buying Jarred Kelenic. I got to see more from him. You know, my approach is just kind of wait and see at least a proven track record before I get too excited about a player. So he's down 46% after the Mariners making the playoffs for the first time in forever. Vladdy is a sneaky one in my opinion, and here's something interesting, right? You've got Vladdy's PSA 10 refractor, pop 1532, and then you've got Judge's Chrome base card here, PSA 10, pop 5000. The base Chrome Judge at $129, $130. The refractor Vladdy at $109. Interesting. I think there's probably some reasons for that. Maybe not as many cards for Judge as Vladdy, having been from 2 years prior. But this is a guy who won the MVP, or was rather runner-up in MVP 2 years ago, who had a also very, very impressive season. He had a good year this last year, not a great year. Can he rebound? Will he bounce back? If he does, I would expect to see his prices rise nicely. And will there be hype and momentum around him, more importantly, heading into next season? Potentially. J-Rod, obviously, everybody's super high on him. Are his prices too high? I'm very high on him, but I also always get worried about these guys. I just want to see a little bit more consistency going into next year to see if he can keep the momentum going. Soto's a guy, again, hearing from a lot of people that they're highest on Soto of anybody to have a bounce back season. Everybody knows the plate discipline. Something really was not working well, especially when he got over to the Padres last year. He's got to get it together, or it could be a free fall for his card prices. But everybody knows, if you talk to people who really know baseball, they talk about Soto being a generational hitter, one of a kind, just so disciplined, so grounded. So I would like to see Soto come back, honestly, for the benefit of the overall baseball card market and the buzz around these young athletes. And then we'll just kind of scroll down. Shane Bieber down 23%, Jose Ramirez, Schwarber, not a guy I'd get too excited about investing in, but obviously if you're into the Phillies or you want to collect him, that's no problem. Machado had a great season last year, kind of just got lost in the shuffle, but he did have a really, really good year. Wander Franco's a guy, I know you could probably take what I said about J-Rod and say, well, you got to apply that same logic to Franco. That's probably true. But again, I tend to listen to the experts and the people who really know baseball too, better than I do just as a spectator. And they say that Franco's got all the intangibles, all the ability. He had a little bit of a down year last year. I think he's a bounce back candidate as well. And then we get into Bryce Harper, Nolan Arenado, two guys who have proven it. Ronald Acuna Jr. is one that I am worried about. I'm worried about his ability to stay healthy, to stay on the field. In general, I don't know what to make of Acuna. He's got to be able to play. If he can get back to that 40-40 potential, it could be prices to the moon. But if he can't, again, he's another one like Soto that just could keep going down and down and down. Yordan Alvarez is another guy, much like Soto, that people talk about, just he should be able to hit and hit and hit for 15 years to come. Kind of a, big poppy, Frank Thomas type player. Can hit for contact, but obviously can hit for power. And then I'll close it out with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman here. Obviously, the two guys on the Dodgers, both fantastic players, not down a lot. I think people recognize their greatness and that they've got a lot of potential, no matter what, for their prices long term. So a lot of optimism around those players. Now let's jump over to price movements by player specifically. This is kind of a whole bunch of different players in baseball, and I'm looking at the last 60 days, and here, like I said, Judge down 35%. So if you remember, I like to compare these guys and see how are they performing relative to all baseball cards and to the SCI 500, which in the last 60 days is down 9.5%. Judge down 35%. Context matters a lot in this case, because his prices went up so much, that's why they're down so much. But look in those numbers and try to really dive in. Okay, what's going on and where is it relative to those time frames when, before a big spike, where is it relative to where it was before that? Jeff McNeil, sorry, nobody's probably paying too much attention to his rookie cards. Bobby Witt Jr., Tons of buzz, tons of people high on him. Another guy that I want to see more out of. Austin Riley, you know, low-key probably the best player on the Braves. He's a fantastic talent, a fantastic hitter, and you know, I don't know that he gets enough love. He's played better. Let's say he's been at the plate and he's played better than Acuna has over the last 2 years. He and Matt Olson both very, very competitive. Tucker, Betts, O'Neill Cruz, you got Jazz, and then we're kind of getting into this territory where we start talking about things being on par with the SCI 500 and with the broader market. So that means those aren't necessarily deals. And this is what I was alluding to when I was saying, I really thought we'd see some players be down 50, 60% over the last 60, 90 days. We're really not seeing that. So to me, that's kind of a sign overall that the card market is sort of leveling off. Yes, we're continuing to see declines and prices going down, but not as much as I expected for this being the off season and the time when generally most people aren't paying attention at all to baseball. Now, last but not least, this again, I just love to get in here and see what's going on with these cards in a visual way. Let's say you have a budget. You're like, hey, I've got, you know, $100, $200, $300, $400, you know, to spend, or maybe I've got $1,500 and I want to buy like 4 different cards. What's my best way to do that? We continue to expand our database. You know it, you know, we're looking up here, 1.139 million cards and growing. And if you just want to explore and kind of find out what's out there and have the data as a reference point to know what cards went for recently, I'm in here, I'll show you the filters. Now I did this a little bit manually just to have a variety. Threw in a bunch of the key players' names, basically like the top 30 players from a fantasy baseball perspective last year. Put in my budget of $150 to $400, check the rookie card only indicator, and then come down here and you can just look, scroll, see what catches your eye, kind of get lost in the eye candy and scroll and say, what do I like? What speaks to me? Kind of explore that. And you don't have to do this with 30 different players. If you're like, hey, I really want to pick up a really cool Mookie Betts card, I don't even know what's out there. This is a great way to see way more than even what's on eBay or other auction houses, because you have them all here. You have the data points, you can set price alerts, you can look in the active listings, you can save them to your card favorites and just kind of scroll down and take a look like this. So many cool cards, so little money, so little time, but this is a really fun way, and this is one of my favorite new aspects of the new Market Movers X, just to kind of get in here and see all these really cool high-res, high-quality images of these different cards and players. I hope that you enjoy that, and if you do, let me know down in the comments if this is something that you're enjoying or if you've used this feature. And overall, what do you think? Whether you're a collector, a speculator, or somewhere in between, is now the time to buy baseball cards? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear that, and I'd love to respond to the comments. And if you want to get into this data, visit marketmoversapp.com and use promo code DIVE to get the first 7 days free. Thanks so much as always for watching. Until next time, happy investing, keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.